the big news this week in corporate China, right? You remember Starbucks and the issues they're having there with their foreign units. In fact, when you look at the opposite of some of the success stories, Lululemon, when you look at their specific China unit and the amount of growth they've seen throughout the years expected into the next few years. So from about early 2022, $400 million into the expected close to $2 billion of the China business. That's about a 5x growth. Just over 5 years, right? Let's see, of course, if analysts are proven to be correct. Now, as a percentage of the company's global revenues, where the U.S. is still the biggest market, and then you have China, and then you have Europe and everything else, you can see China's gone from about mid-single digits in 2022 and expected to go into the mid-teens in about 2 years from now. So that growth as a percentage of the pie and an absolute basis is really working out when you look at what Lululemon's doing here in mainland China specifically.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable, right? A time when the consumption has been soft, that they've really been able to stand out as a foreign brand in the mainland as well. Not many have been able to do that. As for the stock, though, what are the preferences from investors? Well, you take a look at something like Lululemon and Amer, for example, and it's like almost a tale of two sportswear companies, right? Because some of these sort of global premium performance, it seems like the likes of Amer, the technical sportswear makers, are still outperforming the likes of Lululemon. It's going to be a key question, right? Can Lululemon replicate what they're doing in the China, and maybe replicate that in the West? Because clearly we're seeing sales in the other parts are not as robust. So certainly that's going to be one thing. Let's get to the China International Import Expo. That continues today in Shanghai. And of course, our Chief North Asia correspondent, Stephen Engle, he's at the event. And we're talking leggings. We're talking Lululemon today, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm getting a bit of a hard sell to switch over from Hugo Boss to Lululemon athleisure wear for on air. But I digress. Let's bring in the guest, China MD for Lululemon, Sanyan Ng. Thanks so much for having us here.
Thanks for having me.
So we just went through a bunch of numbers, how we're seeing how the China market, obviously last year and into this year, took the advantage of the big boom in athleisure wear and sporting wear and outdoor activities. We have seen that market tail off a bit. How are you being impacted by that?
We have only been in Lululemon China for only 12 years. So we feel like this is only the beginning of our journey. And we have been not growing in China, but growing together with China in order to expand this Healthy China 2030 movement that the government is pushing. So we do see our positioning as a well-being advocacy with our products, with our community to drive movement, to find joy in movement and not necessarily a certain sports and activities.
But how are you seeing the drive to boost consumption? Is that starting to pay off, obviously? People are a little bit hesitant to spend a lot right now. Households are holding on. But $150 leggings, yoga pants, $600 jackets. Are you finding a sweet spot that still commands? Because there's also the lower cost or lower price dupes, the alternatives.
So I feel like Chinese guests are very sophisticated. Our product, we believe in the science of feel. We have a lot of technology and innovation in our material that once you put on our product, you know the sensation is different. The durability and versatility of Lululemon product makes it a good investment. A lot of Chinese guests that wants to buy. Obviously, there's competition, there's option, but it actually gives us a sweet spot where I think is value for money that the Chinese guests love.
What kind of pricing power do you have right now? Because China, you've been kind of a margin king compared to in the United States. So actually, you've had better pricing power here than in your biggest market in the United States.
So definitely, I think in terms of pricing, it's an acceptable level. I think the guest enjoys it. On top of it is the community that we bring together, the awareness of well-being that we're trying to advocate is something that resonates really, really strongly with our Chinese guests.
What would you like to see from authorities as far as kind of unlocking the consumer? Li Qiang was here at the CIIE, the premier, yesterday, and he was saying we need to unlock the consumer. Consumption, given the trade war, consumption is going to be key and boosting that contribution to GDP.
Definitely. I think we see ourselves as a player together with the Chinese government about bringing well-being and wellness to China. So as the government support us in building more stadium, promoting activity, we also play a part in bringing community together, making them accessible to workouts to yoga classes. They're free. All our stores, our 165 stores across the country, are actually our community hub that provide access to classes for free.
So 165 stores now?
45 cities.
So what is the projection over the next couple of years? You see room to grow even further, and where and how many stores are we talking?
Yeah, we still see runway and opportunity, not only in our 165 store, we also have a strong online business that enables us to actually know where our guests actually live. In that sense, we still see a runway of growth in tier 2, tier 3 cities.
Okay. Singles Day is coming up. You usually get a boost, right, on November 11th?
Yeah, it started.
It's already started, the pre-Singles Day, right? Yeah. So are you going to be able to keep that kind of momentum through the rest of this year and into 2026, given the overall slowdown in this segment?
Definitely. I think our Singles Day's performance so far has been very, very strong. In the sense
very strong?
We definitely see very good growth. But I know Singles Day had another few more weeks to go. But so far the result has been very, very encouraging. At the same time, it's like, how do you differentiate in terms of platform? How do you actually balance your omni services, and how do store and online not cannibalize one another? It's things that we're working on through services, through product differentiation. So it's been very, very positive for us.
Now, some of those numbers that Yvonne and David brought up, we were looking at those charts. Last year we were seeing China contributed about 10% of global revenue. Projections, 2027, about 16.8. Is that in line with your internal numbers? 17% of global market. So how important then, when you go back to the North American market and see weakness in the United States, or at least slowing pace of growth, how important then would China be to the overall global ambitions of this company?
China is Lululemon's second largest market. So our growth and our focus on the growth of how we build the internal collective as well as local talent enable us to actually understand this market, feedback to global, and grow in China.
What has the overall trade chaos in the world done to your strategy and how you're thinking about growing this market and the bifurcation of supply chains as well as shopping trends?
So I'm only responsible for China in that sense. I don't see immediate chaos for us.
How has it affected your procurement? I think China is one of the biggest sources of fabrics for you. How has that changed, and has it changed now that we've had a bit of a truce and a relaxation in some sectors for tariffs?
So as of today, I don't see any impact to the China business per se.
No impact at all?
Not with China. My business in China.
On procurement? Do you see yourself maybe buying more from China?
We have a shared resources in terms of procurement and allocation. As of today, I think we are strong in where we are today.
Yeah, okay. Going forward though, where would you take this model next? The China market has been very successful. I know you only look at this market, but is this a market that is, you can replicate elsewhere in Asia as a model that you can take back to Vancouver and say, this is working?
We definitely share a lot of all our successes with the rest of the region to see that it's actually resonate with them in a sense, like in terms of our store design, how we actually do an event, like our Chinese New Year campaign. So I don't see it as China for China only, but at the same time, I always look at it as not a China strategy, it's a Chinese strategy. At the end of the day, there are Chinese around the world, and how do we share this and how do we syndicate what we have done well to the rest of the world?
So earlier we talked about that boom time through last year in athleisure and experience spending, right? So how do you see the segments changing? What are Chinese buying now? How has that changed? What your product mix?
So definitely there's a lot of competition at play, but I feel like competition doesn't have to be a threat. It's actually a catalyst for innovation and excellence. I think for our product, we call it high performance, high style. It's technical material, but it's versatility that enables you to wear to the office, to wear for casual, to wear for a sweat. So in that sense, I think our success in material innovation has actually helped us to scale into other occasions that the guests could wear.
What does 2026 look like then for you as compared to this year?
2026. But as it is, we're still very positive about outlook for China.
Yeah, and the dupes. I have to talk about them because they've hit all the other major competitors of you as well, getting lower price alternatives to the premium brands such as yourself. How does your strategy change to counter that when a lot of those dupes are showing up online at Singles Day and beyond?
There's definitely dupes for everywhere and anywhere. But if you were to try a Lululemon leggings, you will know the difference. Our material technology is based on science of feel. They may look the same, but when you put it on, you absolutely could tell the difference between a dupe and a Lululemon legging. So in that sense, I think at the end of the day, the guests will realize that it's actually what they pay for in terms of quality and performance.
All right, well, it's going to take a lot of convincing to get me into leggings, but thanks so much, Sun Young, and thanks so much for joining us here on Bloomberg Television. Okay, guys, going to send it back to you from the China International Import Expo, or CIIE, where we're here at the Lululemon booth.